Stanford, Jeremy Stanford. He's been with the program actually from the very beginning, as several here have, and I'll be introducing them as we go. But we're just excited again to do this is our 6th year. It's hard to believe that the class of 5th graders coming in is actually our 6th. We're actually half a decade old. We started in 2011 at Central Middle School. We were there for 1 year, and then we came to this facility. Here it was formerly known as Hyatt, and now the Riverside STEM Academy. Has some great advantages at this site. We're only a half mile away from UCR. We'll talk a little bit more about what we're doing with UCR as we progress in the program. But again, welcome. Tonight, the purpose of tonight is to really give you an idea of what the Riverside STEM Academy program is about, especially in the 5A program. But we are a 5-12 program. We're going to emphasize that. We have 11th graders this year. We're going to have 12th graders. Our first graduating class, our 11th grade this year. And our program, we want to see kids come from the 5th to 12th. In fact, and so we keep kids for a long time, and they really like being here. And so we'll be talking more about that. But again, welcome. Everything that you see here, and we'll be going over this at the end also, is on our website at riversidestemacademy.com. We have the presentation in English. It's already been translated into Spanish, and will be posted in Spanish tomorrow. We're also videotaping this presentation, so if you have friends or someone that wants to see it, because we used to do 2 nights of this, now I do 1 night, and then we have 1 makeup during the day, coming up, I think it's next week. But it's also going to be on video, online also with the PowerPoint, so other people can see the presentation. So let's go ahead and begin. The first thing I always like to talk about, and I'm glad to see so many kids here too, because this is a program that we want the parents need to be involved, the students need to be involved, and we're involved. In fact, all students and parents and us, we sign a compact. We'll talk about that at the very end. But this is a partnership here. And for students that are successful here, it's a partnership with the parents, with our staff, and with the students. So the first thing I always like to talk about, just to make sure that we know when we talk about STEM, because this is a word that's been used a lot more in the past several years. President Obama has talked a lot about the STEM focus, but STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. This is a STEM-focused school. We are really a program. In fact, I like to emphasize that. We are a school, but first we're a program that happens to be a school. And so we are not a comprehensive elementary school, middle school, high school. We are a program that's here on this campus together, and we're focused on STEM. So we don't have some of the other things that go on as far as some of the supports like Read 180 that some other campuses have for students. We don't have, but we do a lot of extra things that other campuses don't do, but our focus is on STEM. And the reason why I say that is because sometimes you may have heard of our school. We have some of the highest test scores in the state, and that's great, but that's not what our purpose is. Our purpose is not to have the highest test scores. Our purpose is to have a great STEM education for your child. And so we want to make sure that that's what we're emphasizing here. If your child loves to have to work in science, technology, engineering, and math, and they're focused on that, that's the kind of kid that we have. We are a safe school, but that, again, being safe is a byproduct. We have great teachers, great staff, both our support staff and our teaching staff. But again, our focus is on STEM. It's not just because we don't want our kids to go to that other school, our neighborhood school. We want students to come here because they're interested in STEM. Okay, we do a great job with that, and that is our focus, that is our purpose. And with that said, again, I'm going to introduce you here to Mr. Stanford, who's our assistant. He's coordinating our high school program this year, which is in our 3rd year, so Mr. Stanford.
Thank you, Mr. Moore, and welcome everybody. My name is Jeremy Stanford. I'm the program coordinator for the high school and the assistant here as well at the academy. And on behalf of the staff, and I want to welcome you and thank you for coming tonight, because this is an important night in the future, potentially, of your child's education. So, what is STEM? Mr. Moore went over that. I'm going to talk about a few things that relate to STEM specifically, and that is this slide here really talks about why this school exists, why the district decided to go with a STEM-focused school. A lot of districts are also jumping onto that wagon as well, and you're going to see STEM academies, STEM-focused schools throughout California. There's a lot more money available for them, and they're popping up all over the place. And so why are these schools popping up all over the place? And that is because of these things. We're trying to solve the most pressing problems of our future with our students. They're going to be our leaders going forward. So we want these students and these future leaders to have stackable traits, stackable characteristics, stackable things that allow them to solve problems from a variety of angles. So we give them here at the Academy science, of course, and math, of course, and language arts and humanities, of course, but we also want to build in skills with our students that include technology, that include engineering, that include in-depth problem solving, and as well as communication. So this is kind of our mantra. This is what we kind of focus on when we create curriculum for your children here. So our school mission, it's a lot of words on a page, but we really embody it here. We really do. Everything that we do has to come back to this mission. This mission statement is just words on a page. It really is something that happens here on a daily basis, and the teachers strive to make these things happen for children here. So our mission is to provide students a rigorous, and rigorous is up there first because it is a rigorous program. This is a rigorous program. There's no joking about that. This is an accelerated program. The students are pushed to succeed here. So it's a rigorous program. It's interdisciplinary, which means we blend a lot of the subject matter and content areas. We're obviously focused on science, technology, engineering, and math, but we also want the students to have fun. We want the students to enjoy what they're doing here. And so, yes, it's rigorous, but it's also meant to be a place for them to enjoy what they're doing. And so that's part of our mission, is to promote that joy with students. And then we want the students to collaborate, we want them to be ethical, and of course, we want them to be problem solvers. And so that's really what this place is all about. And Mr. Moore said it earlier, and this graphic kind of sums up kind of the vision for our students, our graduates, if you will. This truly is a 512 program. There aren't any like it anywhere in the district. We start with 5th graders. We want those students to stay with us all the way through the 12th grade. That's the expectation. So as your children enter the lottery, and if they're lucky enough to be chosen to come to this school, we look at this as an 8-year process to build your children into those problem solvers of the future. So we want these students here the whole 8 years. And so this kind of shows you the structural foundation of what we're about. Design, creative process, interdisciplinary, we integrate content areas. We build these students up with these pillars of science, mathematics, research is a big component as well. Communication, computer coding, they're going to be exposed to all of these things, and as they move into the high school, they're going to take specific courses in these content areas as well. And then what do we get on the out? What's the output of this? Students that are problem solvers, innovators, inventors, risk takers, and so on. Creative, ethical, confident, logical thinkers, self-reliant, historically and globally aware. This is what we're looking to see in our students as they progress from the 5th grade all the way through the 12th grade. So as we develop our high school program, we now have 11th graders, we are doing just that. We are creating a foundation for your students, which will be the class of 2020 something. I was just doing a presentation with the class of 2020 the other day, but you guys will be 2024 now, 2024. So it's amazing, it's kind of crazy to think about that, but it is the class of 2024. So. With that, I'll turn this back over to Mr. Moore, but that is, gives you a picture of what it is we're trying to accomplish here at the Academy.
Great, thank you, Mr. Sandifer. And as we go through this presentation, one thing I want you to notice here, one of the things that makes the school works is the dedicated staff, and that's another thing. You can have a program, a good program idea, but without a dedicated staff, and you're going to see the whole 5th grade team. So we have a phenomenal staff. Many of the staff members here that you met, Mr. Stanley, for example, Mrs. Rubrick, myself, there were 6 of us that started the school at the very beginning, and it's grown. Next year we're going to be 650 students, and most likely within 4 to 5 years, for the kids in our 5th grade, what did you say, 2004? There'll be a high school campus on UCR's campus, most likely. We're very close to making that deal with UCR now. But we have a dedicated staff, and that's what makes it work. These teachers here, the staff here, not just teachers, we have Mrs. Unrath in the back, you're going to meet a little bit later on to register. They're not being paid extra to be here. But they're dedicated to what we accomplish. And that's what we have some program highlights, but what makes it work is the great people that we have. So the project-based learning and research is very, very important. Hands-on activities. This is not something we just kind of set kids up to do so we can take a nice picture. This happens every day. We've got, of course, science instruction that we'll be talking about. We do engineering instruction through the science of the 5A program. We're focused on the 5th grade today, but these things happen all the time in all classes, interdisciplinary, with an emphasis on students collaborating, which means we also have to work with them on getting along. Scientists work together, and we want our students to learn to collaborate and work well together. Some of the other highlights, we do field trips. We do at least 3 field trips a year in each grade level, sometimes more, depending upon the team. Some of you probably recognize the guys on the left. We actually, when the Mythbusters were here, not the last time, but the previous time, we actually had a special time with them at the end. This is actually not too far from us, Sycamore Canyon. But we do field trips. We do 2 science camps. We do a science camp in the 6th grade, one in the 8th. We continue that. We're going to be doing science camps in high school also. And so we go up to astronomy camp in the mountains in Idlewild for 6th grade, and we actually go over to Catalina Island and do a biology, marine biology focused science camp over in Catalina Island. So lots of field trips to enhance their work. Again, students are involved in science and engineering and design challenges. Now, our program, we believe in one of the pillars there as the way that we actually build the school, not just for students designing, but we are constantly in what we call the design process. We are looking at a program almost weekly, monthly, sometimes daily basis and what we can improve. We've learned a lot, for example, our kids do very well in science fair. We rarely use that word here though, because we don't want students thinking of science as being a science fair. The backboard, and you guys, your parents know what I'm talking about, right? And you cringe sometimes when you see that. Our kids do well with the science fair, but we want kids doing science the way scientists do it. Where they take a research project and they work on it year after year, and then really thinking like a science with these design challenges. And so this is something that we've been developing over the past several years in the way that we work with students as far as thinking like a scientist. So Mr. Mayhew, he has been a tremendous help. He's an 8th grade teacher, and we wanted him here also because, again, this is not just about 5th grade. This is about kids going with us from 5th to 8th to 9th through 12th grade. And so he's going to talk a little bit about some of the extracurricular he's been very involved in, and we'll talk about some of the other things teachers do also. Mr. Mayhew.
Thank you, everybody. We do have a lot of extracurricular opportunities from 5th grade to 8th grade and into high school. And many of our opportunities that we see will look different from what you would see at a regular school. We do have some athletics, but most of these opportunities are focused on STEM. So our robotics team. Our robotics team this year went to the state finals and was able to compete. How many of you have seen the Lego robotics competition before? Okay. So we have a robotics team, and mainly for 5th and 6th grade joining on that. We have a math counts club that is an award-winning. This year we went to the regional finals for the math counts, and our award-winning science Olympiad team. We have gone to regionals, I think every single year that we've been there, and there's a lot of work and dedication. Your kids will learn a tremendous amount of science if they join the science Olympiad teams for 6th or 7th, 8th, and then high school as well. Athletics. It's interesting when you look at the type of students that we have, about half the trophies that we have up in our trophy case are for athletics. And we have a lot of students here. We have opportunities for intramural sports and then also competitions against other middle schools when we have 7th and 8th grade. We have a basketball tournament coming up this Saturday, this weekend. We have band. Mr. Watts is our band teacher, and he is an amazing band teacher, I think one of the best ones in the district. He came over to Central, or from Central over here, and he does an amazing job with our students. How many band students do we have in this room currently? Okay, if you're interested in band, we have a fantastic program, and you will learn a lot about that. Art, Mrs. Higgins has an art class that she has. It's a creativity club that we have after school. And then I run the middle school speech and debate program. And as our middle schoolers move into high school, our high schoolers are competing in speech and debate as well. And 2 years into the program, we are ranked number 7 in the state for speech and debate. If you want to watch your child grow in confidence and communicate, have them consider speech and debate. So as we look at this, we look at the ability of having STEM-related things in the classroom, but also extending that beyond so that they can have an enriched opportunity as we go. And now I'm going to pass this over to Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayhew. One of the things I want to just mention here also is this speech and debate. One thing people talk about with us a lot is they say, well, are your kids, are they going to be well-rounded? And they are going to be well-rounded. They're going to be well-rounded with a STEM focus. But for example, speech and debate, communication, you know, is one of our pillars. Scientists have to be able to communicate. Some of you in here, I'm sure, are scientists. And their ability to present, to write grants, to present their information so they can get those grants and present it to the general public is extremely important. We've been very, very impressed with our debate team. We've brought it down, like Mr. Mayor was talking about, we had it started in high school, we brought it down to the lower levels because the communication skills are so very important. So we don't de-emphasize those, but those are integrated in an interdisciplinary way within our whole program. So some other program highlights. Every Wednesday we have a symposium speaker. The purpose of this is so that students can see what I call the spectrum of the STEM careers. Often when we think of STEM, we think of things like being a medical doctor, great profession. I'm sure there's some medical doctors here tonight. It's a great thing to do. But there's so many things beyond being a medical doctor or a nurse or a dentist or something like that. And we have those kinds of people come here. But there are material scientists. There's many kinds of engineers. Computer coding is just taking off. Nanoscience. And we could go on and on in different kinds of fields out there. So we have different speakers. In fact, the speaker here is one of our parents who's a world-renowned astrophysicist from UCR. And we bring these kinds of people in so that the kids can see the different kinds of opportunities that they have when they complete their education or they continue to do their education, but when they continue to go through school, what kinds of things that they might want to do. So we have this every single Wednesday, we have a schedule so this speaker comes in. Now our schedule in the middle school, we run a middle school model. Now our fifth grade team is going to talk a little bit about kind of that transition time. We're actually doing something brand new that we'll talk about later this year to help in that transition. But this is a middle school model. They will not have the same teacher all day. Okay? Now that some kids say, great. Other ones that's hard because they're fifth graders. For some of you that are still your babies, right? And now they're going to be switching classes. Now we do keep them all within the same wing. And I should mention this also. The fifth through eighth grade program, although we're one school, is separated from the high school program. So there's not intermixing of the high school students with the 5-8. We do some things, there's tutoring and different things that might go on like that. But they are completely separate bathrooms, separate PE time, and all that kind of thing. So that's always one of the questions I'll answer right there. But it is a middle school program, so they have extended minutes in science, math, and then they have what we call humanities, where they get the language arts and history. So it's 5-period blocks each day with 3 academic classes. PE. Now, PE is required by the state. It's actually the only required class as far as how many minutes. Elementary school's minutes have to be 200 minutes every 2 weeks of time. But we actually have physical education trained teachers, and they get physical education every day. Now, if they're interested in band, 2 days a week, and by the way, I didn't see very many hands raised, but our band, by the time they get to 7th and 8th grade, is phenomenal. It sounds like a high school band. And I always say this, we brought music in, and that's one of the things, we're STEM focused, but we brought music in because I think it's really important that students have that kind of training. Einstein played the violin, if you didn't know it, okay? He liked to sail and he liked to play the violin. And so our music program is very important. So during PE, 2 days a week, they actually come down here for band, and in 7th and 8th grade, they do it 0 period. So our program is blocked that way, where they get extended minutes in each of those subject areas. And then there's also this enrichment time, which is we're constantly adapting and changing that enrichment time and what we do during that time, and all kinds of different things happen during that time. So, 5th grade teaching team is here today. So we have 3 teachers. We have Mrs. McMorris, who's our humanities teacher, and she's going to be talking about her class, what goes on there in mathematics, is Mrs. Rubrick. And I should mention too, our math teacher, she's a math teacher, but she's taught calculus at the high school level. She's a math tradition teacher. Same thing with our science teacher, Mrs. Harns, who's our first year teacher. She's taught before, but first year here at STEM. Came from UC Davis, and she's teaching our 5th graders. And again, they're getting 85 minutes of science each day, not just 20 minutes a week, with 85 minutes to cover a tremendous amount of science. So we're going to start off with Mrs. McMorris talking to you about humanities.
All right, so I'm Mrs. McMorris, and I'm a humanities teacher. And in humanities, we cover language arts and history. And I always say we do language arts through history. We definitely keep a history focus, and then I bring in the language arts skills through that. I just wanted to compare our humanities, and especially the language arts program, with an elementary school. At an elementary school, 2.5 hours of language arts instruction every day included dedicated small group instruction in reading, writing, whatever the students need. And then in the afternoon, usually social studies and science kind of get intermingled in the afternoons. Here, the students, we do an integrated language arts and history. So for 85 minutes, I have them to cover both curriculum areas. So you can see the kinds of resources that we use, lots of different resources, very different than just rote going through the textbook. The kinds of assessments, the kinds of questions, the kinds of activities that we do are very, very different. So on the top there, you can see a typical 4th grade or regular elementary school, even at a 5th grade level, you don't have a basic multiple choice learn the fact question. Here at STEM, we dig a lot deeper. So you can see the example there. You have to write claims, support claims, use textual evidence, quote from the text, really deep, dig deep, make inferences. It's a very different level of questioning, a much higher order level of questioning. We use a strategy called SERVE, which started off as a science strategy and is now being integrated through all subject areas. Writing a claim, providing evidence, giving reasoning, and then rebuttals as appropriate. For humanities, I love to use technology. So we use a lot of technology in my class. We've got technology. Students, of course, use the internet to research. We use Google Drives, Google Slides, Google Docs. Students can collaborate, creating documents, creating presentations, which they might show to the whole class. They might show a presentation just to their small group, whatever. I use a huge variety of strategies. And several websites, of course, that allow me to differentiate instruction using, practicing the skills that we've learned. So we just have some kind of pictures of students and using their computers in different ways. The students really need to be comfortable with their use of computers, feel confident in the computers, kind of be able to really be willing to explore and play around with that. So that's kind of the humanities program at a glance. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McMorris. One thing that she didn't mention, and this is, again, we are a program, I'm going to emphasize that again. So you'll notice that in language arts, where they get 2.5 hours, they get 85 minutes that combines both language arts and history. And this is why this program is great for a lot of kids, but not for all kids. If kids are struggling in reading and writing and so forth, and they need some more help in that, this is not the best program for them. And although these teachers are very dedicated, and we have, they do a lot of, after school and lunch and before school with kids, they have to be at grade level. And I'll talk about that at the end, because they are not getting as many minutes as they do in the regular English class. And so that's one thing we want to emphasize there. So Mrs. Rubrick, again, I've already introduced her. Come on up here, Mrs. Rubrick. We've actually worked together for many years. We were at Poly High School together. I was teaching science, she was teaching math. And again, our math, she teaches 5th grade math. In fact, she could teach, like I said, at Packard Center high school level, but she loves teaching 5th graders. So she's going to talk to us about our math program.
All right, before we begin, I just want to clarify. My name is Mrs. Rubick, like Rubik's Cube. What happened? All right, the program we have here, we call Accelerated Math 5. The pace of the course is very rigorous. As Mr. Moore said, we're a program, not a school, we're a program. And my goal in 5th grade is to get the kids ready for our 8th grade curriculum, or 7th grade rather. So I prepare them in 5th, they're prepared in 6th, so when they enter 7th grade, they're entering an advanced curriculum, which that's the only curriculum we have here. We don't have the, so to speak, regular 7th grade program. So we're accelerated here, getting very deep into the topics. Students should expect to be challenged. If your students want at the schools that they say, this is too easy, and they're bored, they won't feel it's too easy here and they won't be bored because we really challenge them and get really deep into the mathematics. They work hard, they think deeply, and communicate their ideas articulately. Communication is really important in all of our classes. You can expect to see an increased amount of writing in mathematics. All 3 of the 5th grade classes, we all write. It's not just do the math, it's write to explain what you're doing. This is an example of what I'm talking about us getting deeper into the mathematics. This is a division problem. So we developed the concept using models. Now, if your child in 4th grade has started working with division yet, I'm not sure the pacing, they should be seeing area models. That's part of the Common Core standards. I taught this way long before Common Core was around, because I've been around a long time. But they should be doing this. They should be looking at the concept to know what works. Here they shaded in, they're dividing 2 and 7/10, so you have 2 whole and 7/10 of the next rectangle over here. And you're dividing it in sections, amount you want in each group, so you could see the green dividing into 9/10, and then you want to know how many groups do I have. That's your quotient. We use the vocabulary. Using mathematics vocabulary is extremely important. So that's what I'm talking about when I say we delve deeper, go into the concept, not just the algorithm. Once we've developed it graphically with models, then we look at it this way. We don't even talk about what we were all raised over here, using the algorithm. Weren't you taught you have to make this a whole number, so I move it once to the right in the quotient, bring it straight up. That's how we all learned how to do mathematics. It doesn't work that way anymore. And it shouldn't be working for your children at 4th grade that way when they start learning how to divide by a whole number. Well, basically what you're doing here is you're multiplying by 10 to the 1st power, or powers of 10. And we talk about that. What are you doing here? You multiply this number by 10, so that this becomes a whole number. 27 divided by 9, that's a basic fact. We know the answer is 3. So first we look at it using a model. Then we look at it, well, what are we really doing to these numbers? And then we say, okay, how can we take what we did here, adapt it over here, and come up with an algorithm? Let's come up with a rule. How do we do it? So we look at the concept first. We don't start out with this algorithm. We use technology a lot too in mathematics. They take assessments online. We use Google Docs for them to write the claims, and I can read it. It's kind of hard to do a math problem on a document, so it's more for the writing. We use a number of websites from which to learn and practice. So they get used from going to this site, to that site, to this site, to that site. And again, they must be comfortable with their computer and basic troubleshooting. So at first it might be strange, but we'll work them so that they have to start getting onto it on their own so they know what to do. Okay.
Going back to the technology, we are a one-to-one school, which means that every student works with one computer instead of sharing computers. We encourage families, if they can, to purchase some type of computer for their student. If there is an issue and you can't do that, we do have computers available to you. And all you would need to do is, Mrs. Greenwood is right there in the center, and you would sign up with her, and we have some forms, and we have laptops, netbooks to give to any participants. But every single student is expected every single day to have a fully charged device that it can be used in all 3 of the classrooms. It's used extensively in a wide variety of ways. So I don't know if your students have heard of video games before, but sometimes that can eat away at the battery, and we do need them to be used for educational purposes in the classroom. So we have a one-to-one school. We do have devices available for you to check out, but we do encourage you to look at the website, look at the minimum requirements that we need for computers, and if you have one available for your child, it will probably work faster and better than some of the netbooks that we have as our loaner devices there. So if you have any questions about that, you can talk to me afterward or Mrs. Greenwood about our technology. And I would love to introduce to you Ms. Harns, who is our science teacher.
Thank you, Mr. Menu. I only have 2 slides, so it won't be very hard. Thank you. My name is Megan Harms, and this is my first year here at STEM, but this is my 15th year as a professional science educator. My background is I have a bachelor's in environmental science from UC Davis, a master's in ed, and I ran science education programs and did curriculum development for UC Davis for many years. So I'm really, really thrilled to be here because I'm a huge science nerd, and I would love to nerd out with your kids. I also have an extensive background with the 4-H club, doing science and community service projects, project-based learning with 4-H, and I bring a lot of that informal science into my practice of science with your students. So our students learn science by doing science. At a typical elementary school, as was mentioned earlier, your kids might have 20 minutes of science a week, and it might be read this and answer the 5 questions at the end of the chapter. And that's not how real science works in the real world. And so what we want to do with your students is have them work on hands-on projects together. And so they have that collaborative experience. You can see our little team here in the center, and they're working on a sorting activity. So instead of just memorizing a bunch of attributes or animals or facts, they have to know them well enough to be able to make different groups and say, how are they the same? How are they different? Which may seem like a really simple thing to do, but it's very important for them to be able to be successful in the later grades. They really need those processing skills. So we work on practicing those a lot. So yes, we do take notes, and we do have book work. We actually have 4 different textbooks at our disposal. So we use a variety of sources. Some are stronger in certain areas than others, so we really want to make sure students have a variety of resources to use. We do projects. Some, students may get to do 1 or 2 science projects a year in a regular science, fair setting. Our students do projects weekly, every other week, long-term, short-term. We integrate engineering design challenges into the curriculum. So this picture right here shows 2 students. This is the beginning of our unit on the human circulatory system. So given these different materials, tubes and straws and Post-it notes, they had to get a blood supply to each and every Post-it note representing a muscle cell, going from largest to smallest tubes, and none of their muscle cells could be without blood, or else they would die and not have any oxygen. So they came up with a multitude of solutions and really understood the principle before we even bothered with any sort of terminology like artery, veins, capillaries. So we really do emphasize that problem solving. We do labs and we have them analyze data. They use a lot of math and a lot of writing in our science classes as well. So we cover the 4th and 5th grade standards. So your students will not only be doing a lot more science every day, they will also be going over 2 different grade levels of standards, because the variety of schools that kids come from, the amount of science education they get varies a lot. So we have topics like human body systems, plants, do planets a little bit, but motions and forces, electricity, earth systems, mixtures and solutions. So we do physical science, earth science, and physical, chemistry as well. So a lot of reading, a lot of writing, math skills. They're going to be completing labs with formal lab write-ups. They're coached and they're supported in the 5th grade in doing that. But it is really meant to be rigorous so that by the time they are going into our 6th and 7th and 8th grade, we've really gotten this foundation, the skills ready. So my personal philosophy is mastery-based education. So, if your student comes in and they don't know how to bar graph, the teachers and I will work together to make sure that they can do that in science. But if your student is already pretty good at textbook reading, online reading, if they're really good at strong writing and explaining themselves in writing, and if they can use math skills, it'll be even easier for them to excel in science. But if they have some gaps, science is a really great place to learn how to do it without realizing that you're learning math and writing skills. You're just doing it because it's science and it's fun. So we're a really great place to apply what they've already learned and to get to use what they're learning in Ms. McMorris and Ms. Rubik's classes as well. So I think that does it for me. So yes, thank you. I'll turn it over to Mr. Mullen.
Thank you, Mrs. Thomas. We're actually inviting Mrs. Rubik back up here again. Before I do, though, I wanted to introduce you to one more person because I didn't want to forget. But Mrs. Squeda, can you stand up, please? This year, we are very fortunate, and this is important for your fifth grade child also. Now, notice we're emphasizing fifth grade. We're not trying to tell you everything that's going on in grades 5 through 12. But right now, we're focused on fifth grade, so you can make an informed decision if this would be something that you want to apply for your child. Mrs. Squeda came to us. She's been an experienced counselor for many, many years, and she works with kids in the fifth grade all the way up to the high school, and so she has extensive experience. She was at Educational Opportunity for many, many years in other schools, also in the district, and so we're very fortunate to have her, both for academic, helping students with their academic needs and things that they're looking at as far as classes, but also social emotional. She's getting used to fifth graders and tears sometimes, but she's excellent working with our students. And so elementary school teachers, well, although we're getting more counselors around the district, we're fortunate to have Mrs. Squeda here helping us and helping your child be successful. So thank you, Mrs. Squeda. So next up again, Mrs. Rubik, if you come back up here, and we're going to talk about again what things, characteristics make students successful here at the STEM Academy.
Thank you. Your child must really want to be here. Not you, but your child. Mr. Moore said we have kids crying, usually at the beginning of the year, kids that are here because their parents chose it for them and they didn't really want to leave their friends or their home school. It's hard. It's a big change. They have to be willing to take that change. So they have to really want to be here. Real life success here might mean sacrifices in other areas. Students that really wanted to be here, some of them gave up some of the sports they do after school because of the demand that's placed on here being in this rigorous program. As everyone has said, our goal is to get the students through the high school program here. So we have to start prepping them here in 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, and so on to get there. So I told you about my math. I go deeper and I teach beyond the standards because I want them to be ready for mathematics in the science areas also. Your student has to be self-motivated to work both at home and at school. They have to be that type of student that right now they do their homework and you don't have to say, what did you have for homework? Get your homework out. Oh, I already did it. It doesn't work here. They don't get their homework done at school. They have to be the type that likes and enjoys learning. The love of learning is important. I want to show you what we have observed through the years here at STEM. This is what your elementary report card looks like. Over here, this is the performance levels. If you notice in writing, this student has been struggling with a 2. Language, struggling with a 2. Mathematics are 3s and 4s. He'll be a good math student. But his language and writing is going to be struggling. But if you notice over here, his work ethics, behaviors that support learning, he's got all pluses. He'll be okay. He might struggle a little bit, but he's the type of student that's going to come in for tutoring. He's going to go the extra mile because he has a strong work ethic. This student over here has 2s and 3s. He's a little bit better. 3s here in language. Math are 3s. Okay, he's not as strong in math as the other student, but look at the work ethic. This is really important. If your child has minuses, checks, satisfactory, this kid will really struggle because he doesn't have that ethic to be self-motivated and get the work done. Keep this in mind. Your child needs to have a strong interest and ability in math and science. That's our focus here, math and science. You as a parent must be willing to dedicate time every night, including weekends. We give homework over the weekends, we give homework over the holidays. You need to be able to sit with your child to help manage assignments, long-term projects. It might not be like it is for your child now, they just go do the work on their own. Here, it's a big, big different atmosphere. Okay, so you have to be willing to put in the time to help them work through it. They can't do it without you. Develop other skills is needed to ensure their success.
So one thing I want to talk about, so it is a rigorous program, but we have kids from all different backgrounds. One thing, in fact, on the previous slide, we accidentally one year put, there was GATE up there. Now we have a lot of GATE gifted students at our school, but it's not even the majority of the school. It's about 25% of students have been registered as GATE. What makes students successful at this school, and quite frankly in life in general, it's great to be gifted, mentally gifted, but it's that work ethic that Mrs. Rubrick's talking about, the desire to want to do well, to work hard, work with others, and so forth. And so we're about kids, and we want kids to be successful. And so they have to have those characteristics, but we're also here to help. Now, one thing we have learned as we see students, struggle, is we want them to be successful, and the teachers do a tremendous amount of tutoring. Before school, after school, lunch, we're actually bringing tutors from outside this year, all kinds of things to help students when they need it, to support them. But this year we decided to do a summer bridge program. Now these are real common between 6th and 7th grade, but we are going to be doing a summer bridge program that we're expecting students and parents to be involved in this year. And again, this is to get them ready, because sometimes it's a real shock when they come here. So we're doing a summer bridge program. It's actually going to start on June 11th. There's going to be a parent meeting, starting out with the parents, making sure that you have what you need from a technology standpoint, understanding areas. Now we have every year, in fact, in this room, I'm sure there's some of you who are computer coders, and you understand technology really well. But we want to make sure, even if you have that background, we want to make sure that you know what we need you to know to support your child with the technology and with their work. And so on Saturday, on June 11th, will be a parent meeting, to get the parents involved. And again, I want to emphasize, this is a partnership. We work hard, students work hard, and parents work hard for this education, for this STEM-focused education. And then on Monday, June 13th to the 17th, students will actually have classes to be about half a day, and they're going to be going through their math, science, and so forth. Math, science, language, and humanities are going to be rotating through those classes, getting them ready so that they can hit the ground running when school actually starts. So we're really excited about this program because it's going to help students to be ready from the very beginning. We want to see our attrition rate go down, that means students that drop out. Because we have a large waiting list. We'll have, we have 400 students waiting to get into school in the other grade levels, not counting the 5th grade, of course, because this is the first year for your students. But there's a large waiting list, but we don't want to see that attrition rate. So this bridge program is to help with that. And then Saturday, June 18th, working with parents individually, seeing where students are strong and where they need some more support at the very end. Okay, so yes, is it a commitment? It is. There's a week there of time, and they're not going to be going all day to school, and there'll be some fun activities in there also, but it's really about making sure they are prepared to start with us from the first day, okay? So teachers are dedicated to that. I will be here with the students also, and so we really want them to be successful with that. So I'm going to bring up now, we have our 5th grade teachers, and then Mr. Mayhew is the team leader for the 8th grade. He's been up here several times. Again, we want you to see this continuum, and so he's going to talk a little bit more about what we're trying to accomplish with students as they go through our program.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. As you can see, we're really emphasizing 5 through 12, and because we do believe it's one program. And we have this bridge program here to help your students gain from a traditional 4th grade classroom into our middle school model. But as they come through 6th, 7th, and then 8th grade and come to us, these things that we were talking about here, I want to highlight some of them because there are some expectations that our kids are going to actually have mastered so that we can move them on to high school so they can be successful in the rigorous program that we have there. So we want our students to be problem solvers, innovators, and inventors. But in order to do that, for us to do that well, we need them to really focus on being persistent. When things become hard, what do I do? Do I give up or do I find resources so I can work better at those? We want them to be confident. We want them to be self-reliant, where they can find resources on their own and go and get that help. Because in 5th grade, probably most of you focus on the education for your child, and we want the students to also have ownership on that as well by the time they leave us in 8th grade. So we want this growth to start happening in the middle school process. Normally happens from 7th to 8th, but we want the shift to happen from 5th to 8th, where the kids start owning their learning and being involved in the whole process. So we're looking at the self-reliant student, the student who's confident in their abilities and who has persistence, even when things are tough. That way, we know that we have confidence when we send them on to our high school in the fantastic program that we have there, that they can do great things and achieve much. So that's what we're looking for in our students, and we're going to help guide them there, but we want to look and see, does your student already kind of have a natural affinity towards those pieces as well. So thank you.
So with that said, we've already talked a lot about this partnership. We, students and parents, and along with us, sign a compact of here's what we want students to do, and they're committed to do, and here's what we want parents, and they're committed to do, and here's what we're going to do. And so this is part of our program, is that we are in this process together. And so that's part of it. So let's get to the nuts and bolts here. How do you apply? Now, some of you I think have already learned that, because we already have 100 applications already filled in. That doesn't matter whoever got first. It's all done by lottery. Okay, it's very, very fair. And you have a certain amount of days. We'll go into the time to do that. So when you go to our website, you go to RiversideSTEMAcademy.com, and this is what it looks like. And if you go over to the right-hand side, you're gonna have to scroll just there so you can see it. There you go. And right here, this is where the online application. You just click on that, and then it's in both Spanish and in English. And click on that, and then you just simply complete it. It doesn't really take that long. It's not that hard to do, but just make sure to fill in it every block. Read the questions carefully. And one thing, Mrs. Unrath is in the back. She is our registrar. You will be interacting with her a lot if you get into the school, okay? She does a tremendous job of managing our waiting list, the registration packet, so forth, all goes through her, and she answers. Her and Mrs. Steckloff is also in our front office, answers many of those questions. If you make a mistake, and you want me to say this, right, Mrs. Unrath, on your application, you think, oh, did it get through? Instead of filling out another application and resubmitting so that your name is there 2 or 3 times, you can always call Mrs. Unrath. In fact, go back to the front page, Mr. Mayhew. On our front page at the very top, one of the tabs is their staff. And if you open up the staff tab, you will see all of us there, our bright and shining faces. And go to the support staff. And then you see all our support staff. Of course, our school secretary is right there. And we have Mrs. Unrath is right there. She's the one that you want to talk to as far as getting the application process in. And she's here tonight to also ask questions. Okay, if you go back to the home page. Right below the, scroll to the right so you can see it. There we go. And then go ahead on the enrollment information. So everything that we are going over tonight is on here. PowerPoint presentation. There'll be a video there. There's some a Q&A that you can ask some questions there. And so lots of information here, both again in Spanish and in English, for you to get to look at and to make your decision there. Okay, so I'm going to go on to the next slide now, so you can bring me back. Okay, so anyway, real easy to find, just RiversideSTEMAcademy.com, and there we are. Okay, so how do you apply? And one thing, somehow this slide got popped out, left, and I just noticed it as I was presenting. There is one basic requirement to get into the school, and that is that students on the CAS test, the California Assessment Test that were given. We used to give the CSTs, if you remember, for many, many years. Last year that we gave that was 2013. But students in the new testing, which your 4th grade students took last year, we look at the 4th grade scores on that CAS test must be a minimum of nearly meets the standard. So that's not the highest bar. We didn't say all students had to be above the standard. There's 4 different areas. It used to be 5. If you remember with your students, advanced, proficient, basic, below basic, far below basic, right? Now it's exceed standards, meet standards, nearly meet standards, and then does not meet standards. So students coming here must be a minimum of nearly meet standards. So again, we're not saying, hey, everyone's got to be advanced or everyone's got to be over that. And we've had students, as Mrs. Rubik showed, her presentation, if they're persistent and have those other characteristics, they can do well here. So they must be nearly meets in language arts, ELA, and in math. Okay? So they have to be a minimum of that. If they're below that, then they don't meet that basic standard. All right. So that's, that will be on the PowerPoint. I'll be adding that back on there. So you submit your application, showed you where to do that already. The deadline is February 5th at 4 p.m. We shut it down at 4. Okay, so make sure to get it in. Plenty of time. Again, it doesn't matter when you get it in as long as during that window. Doesn't matter who puts it in first. Because if we do a lottery, your lottery numbers will be sent to all applicants by email and U.S. mail after the application window closes. So you'll get a letter, and it's also will be given to you through email. So because some of you may not be using a lot of email yet, most of you do, but we send it both those ways. And it will also, so you'll have that, and then we show everything in our waiting list by your lottery number. So you need to know what that number is so you can see where you're at. Then the number of incoming 5th grade students applying from outside RSD will be capped at 10%. So we do take students from outside the district, but we've lowered that here recently, this last year actually, to 10% outside the district. And then the selection lottery is on February 8th. And we do this the old-fashioned way. It's very transparent. We can put this on a computer and have the computer generate numbers, but instead, we want to see that this is very fair. We have a big, like the big lottery bingo wheels. We come up here and we choose out ping pong balls one at a time, and so you can come to that. You don't have to though. But to keep it transparent, you're invited to come if you would like to come, but again, not mandatory. That's February 8th. We'll be choosing the 105 students during that time. And then that's going to be at 3 o'clock p.m. Then here in this multi-purpose room. And parents, again, are welcome to attend, but again, not mandatory. So the lottery results will be posted on the website on February 10th. There will be it will say waiting list there, or actually just lottery list there, and you'll see where your number is. Accepted students will be notified via email, and then the registration packets are turned in are picked up first by February 18th. Again, Mrs. Unrath is in charge of that in the back. And then you complete a transfer form at the same time. Now, we help you with that process. So let's say your child goes to Washington Elementary. We have the transfer forms, and we help you with that, okay? So we get that all turned in to the pupil services. Mrs. Unrath, again, does that, so you're not the one running around doing it. She makes the process real easy. I'm not going to get a lot of details into that, and we'll wait to see who are the 105 students that are chosen, and then she works that with you.
A couple of things. When you're filling out the application, as you said, if you didn't get a reply email, you can call me. I've been noticing there's been some typos or a space or a missing dot, and so you won't get it. I've been fixing them, and sometimes when I'm not sure, I call the parent, so you might have even gotten a phone call from me if you've already submitted an application. So I am catching those, and I'm fixing errors as I'm finding them. But if you did not get a response saying you received your application, call me or email me. Email is better because we get a lot of phone calls, especially after tonight's meeting. So an email is actually better. So that's why I had to show you where to find me on the staff page. So my email address is right there. One of the questions that is commonly misanswered is your district, your current school district. If you are living in another school district, but you're already in Riverside Unified on a transfer, your home district is not Riverside Unified, it is still Harupa or Moreno Valley or Corona. Wherever you live, that's the school district you need to list as your current school district. It's by address. And I go application by application and I check all the addresses. So it's real important that you get that in there correctly. Otherwise, I might send you an email and say, let you know. If I change anything on your application, I let you know about it. Because I have to keep track of who's inside and who's outside the district.
Great, thank you, Mrs. Unrath. So again, Mrs. Unrath, and also Mrs. Steckloff, our attendance person, is there to answer a lot of questions, the questions for you when you have them. So what we're going to do, instead of having individual questions right now, our staff here, myself, Mrs. Unrath, will be here to answer any questions you come up and ask us. Thank you for coming. I know we'll be seeing a lot of you and your students here in the future.